Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 77.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to conquer limiting beliefs and transform your world with your gifting and purpose. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode. Happy to have you here as always. I hope that when you listen to my podcast, they give you a shot in the arm for the week. My intention is always to give you either an interesting interview, which I'll be doing soon, or just a short topic on something to think about that challenges you, that challenges your mindset, that helps you become a better version of yourself. And that is really my goal. So I know I have a lot of faithful listeners and I appreciate you. I hope that this podcast has the ability to change your week and make you think about things maybe you hadn't thought about. On that note, today we're going to talk about the blame mindset or the blame game. It's just something that I think every once in a while we need to remind ourselves and check ourselves and say, are we using blame at all as we look at our life? Are we using blame at all as a tool to hide from things? Are we using blame anywhere as a way to punish ourselves or people in our lives? Are we using blame as a way to make excuses? Are we using blame as a way to insulate ourselves from work we need to do or feelings that we need to deal with or just facing hard things in life? Blame often can be used as a shield. So take a moment, just listen to my words for a little bit of time and be willing to look into your life and consider whether or not you are using blame. We all do it once in a while. We've all been in the blame game. Certainly none of us can say we've never done that, because I think as humans, we have a tendency to feel sorry for ourselves pretty quickly if we're not careful. And in feeling sorry for ourselves at times, when we want to nurse our wounds or, really try to make ourselves feel like, that we deserve better in any given situation, we have a tendency to blame others because it's something that keeps us from doing the hard work. It's so much harder, we think, to look at ourselves and hold ourselves to some kind of standard. It's so much easier to simply put the blame and place the blame elsewhere. So let's talk about that a little bit, because really the blame game comes down to responsibility. That's what it is. When you blame others, you are refusing to take responsibility for yourself, for who you are, for where you are, for what you've become, for what you think, for what you do, for really what happens in your life. You need to take responsibility, but the blame game means that you refuse to do that and you put it on other people. And that means you think everything is someone else's fault and you've got a story for it, right? Your parents did something that hurt you. Your friend did something, your spouse, your kids, your boss, a client, the weather, right? Politics, the president, whatever. It's always someone else who you can point to, who you can blame for your circumstances in life. And sometimes our blame isn't just a fresh, in a given day to something going on currently. Some of us hold on to blame from years past, all the way to our childhood. Certainly, we know that, right? A lot of people spend their adult life trying to get over what happened to them as a child, but they hold on to this blame that goes way back to when they were young. And it's damaging and it's debilitating, because as long as you continue to blame others, even if you have the right to, you will hold yourself back. So what does that mean, even if you have the right to? I think when we look at children and we look at things that are done to children that are just awful or painful or just not right, it's hard to look at that child and say, that's your fault. It's not that child's fault. But all of us, even children, our responsibility is to forgive, to release, to take on our own burdens and not blame them on other people. So what happens in that scenario where a child has been hurt, where it's easy to go back and blame those adults in your life or those friends that hurt you, at some point we have to forgive, we have to release, and we need to take responsibility for what we're doing, because often the blame game exists because you're doing something negative or you're not doing something you should be doing. So the blame is a cover, it's a shield, as I said before. So if that's the case, it's really because you're not taking responsibility. And it's not that those people didn't hurt you. It's not that that didn't happen to you. It's not that I think anyone would argue that you don't necessarily even deserve to point a finger somewhere. But we know that that's not going to get you anywhere, right? And especially if you look at it as a form of unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is the prison that you build for someone else, but you end up spending the time in the prison. You end up dying in that prison. They don't. So really the blame game is closely associated with unforgiveness. So are you using it? Are you shielding yourself from something you don't want to face? And instead you are blaming other people. You have to take responsibility for yourself. What does that mean? You have to take responsibility for your decisions, for your thoughts, for the results in your life. For better or for worse, you have to take responsibility. The only way to make change is to take responsibility. And if you don't do that, really there is no hope. I mean, you can't change if you don't accept responsibility. And you know what? God knows each of us need to change almost daily. We need to embrace change. We need to continue to improve ourselves. We need to continue to move forward. And that means we need to continue to change. So when you don't embrace your own responsibility, when you blame others, when you blame situations, when you shield yourself with the blame game, what happens to you is you're really empowering everyone else to control your life. Think about that. You're not controlling your life. You're not controlling your thoughts, which is the one thing we know we have control over, our mind and how we direct it. No, instead, you're empowering and giving away to everyone else around you that you're blaming. You're giving them the power to direct the circumstances in your life. I know that's not obvious at first, but think about it. It's exactly what you're doing. You're not taking on that power. You're not making those decisions. You're giving it away. You're allowing others to have the power to control what you think, what you feel, what you experience. And most of them probably don't even know that, but you've given it away. You aren't taking control, and you can't change them. You certainly cannot change them. If you don't like the President of the United States, you can't change him. I mean, you can try to vote him out, but you can't change who he is and what he's doing in a direct way. But you can change yourself and how you respond to things. You can't change your spouse. You really can't. Don't get married thinking you can change your spouse. God can change your spouse. You can't. You know how change happens? You change. You change, you take on the responsibility, and it draws people to you. And it encourages other people around you to change. So the blame game is about you not taking responsibility, and frankly, it's about you giving your power away. So what happens when we blame other people? We destroy relationships too. We poison them. We multiply the guilt that we have from our bad decisions by blaming others. And some people even blame God. And he's a big guy. He can handle it. He really can. He can handle your emotions. Just make sure you heal from those emotions. Because if you stay in a place where you blame God for a tragedy in your life or a circumstance that was difficult, you're going to cut off that relationship that you need. He can handle that emotion, but he wants you to heal from that emotion. He is your source of power. And when you blame him, you're putting up really a shield between you and him, which isn't going to help you heal. So these are all the things that we do with blame. And, I've been reading an amazing book lately. I go back to it a lot. It's by John Hagee, and it's called The 7 Secrets. And he talks about the blame game. And he makes these statements that I think are really impactful. Listen to these. Blame never affirms, it assaults. Blame never restores, it wounds. Blame never solves, it complicates. Blame never unites, it separates. Blame never smiles, it frowns. Blame never forgives, it rejects. Blame never builds, it destroys. Amazing. Remember that. There is nothing positive that comes from the blame game. Now, when I help people overcome their limiting beliefs, the second step we take after you admit to them and to what that limiting belief is we say, who told you that? Now, at first blush, you may say, oh, That's the blame game. Who told you that? It's not, though. It's identifying the source of a limiting belief for the very purpose of releasing it, for the very purpose of forgiving, for the very purpose of letting it go. It's not blaming. It's taking on responsibility, but recognizing the source. When you can recognize the source of something, often it makes it that much easier to overcome it. And really, overcoming is the attitude. An overcoming attitude is the attitude you need to have when you face adversity so that you can stop blaming other people for circumstances and even blaming yourself. Think about that. You blame yourself, you stand still. You've got to forgive yourself. You have to have an overcomer's attitude in order to face adversity, get through adversity, overcome adversity, and not come out the other side of it in worse shape and in a situation where it's all about blame of yourself, blame of others. So take charge of your thoughts, take responsibility, decide that you don't want to live with the same thoughts and the same feelings and the same blame game that you've been playing, because you know when you do that and it gets you nowhere. Decide that you will take responsibility for who you are and what you can become. Because as I always say to you, the only thing you have control over is your mind and how you direct it. But it is the most powerful thing. And if you decide to take control of it and take responsibility for your life every day and for your thoughts, you'll be amazed at how your life will change quickly. So stop playing the blame game. Start to look at yourself and start to make those changes in your life that will finally get you closer to where you know you can be and that you were meant to be. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you online.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, if you want to be part of a free online community of like-minded individuals for support, resources, and inspiration as you conquer your limiting beliefs and pursue your purpose, go to elizabethnader.com/community. That's elizabethnader.com/community, or search for Master Your Mindset Academy private group on Facebook. Looking forward to seeing you online.